There are 31 flavors of missed fortune. In this educational episode, I'm going to reveal 31 different ways that people miss out on fortunes because they simply don't know what they don't know. I'm Doug Andrew. I've been a financial strategist and retirement planning specialist now for nearly 5 decades, helping people optimize assets and minimize taxes and empower what I call their authentic wealth. Years ago, playing off of Baskin-Robbins' 31 flavors of ice cream, I created a list of 31 different ways that most Americans miss out on fortunes, because my first book was titled Missed Fortune. The fortunes people miss out on because they simply don't know what they don't know. They have all these myths about money. And so I wrote these 31 flavors, and flavor is actually an acronym that I created that stands for Fortunes Lost, Amid, Valid, Optimization, and Reallocation Strategies. Okay, I'm an acronym guy. So what are these 31 mistakes or flavors of missed fortune? I divided these up into different categories, and I'm going to highlight all of these for you in this episode so that if any of these resonate with you or you're making mistakes and you think this way, I'm going to show you how you can learn what you can do better, okay? So the first category was retirement planning, and these are common mistakes that people make when they're planning for their retirement. Number one is using short-term investments for long-range goals. Oh, my heavens. So many people have so much money in some bank or credit union earning less than 1%. That is for short-range goals, and they're using it for retirement. Or sometimes the opposite. They're using long-term investments like mutual funds like it was a drive-up window at a bank. That's a big mistake. Next is putting money into what I call crawl investments, such as CDs and money markets. I often refer to what I call the $1 million dash, where we are running this race trying to achieve the finish line of financial independence, and I call it the $1 million dash, and we're trying to achieve $1 million net after tax and everything. Well, most Americans save the worst way, the most common way in taxed as earned investments, money in banks, credit unions, mutual funds. They're rowing upstream at the rate of 1 mile an hour in a bank, and the current of inflation is coming down at 3, 4, 5, or 10%. They're losing money, but they're paying tax every year on the interest or dividends. That's the worst way to save. Meaning, if you took $1 and it doubled 20 times, $2, $4, $8, $16, $1 doubling 20 times will grow to $1,048,000. If it's tax-free, that's the way I prefer. That's like sprinting towards the finish line. If it's taxed as earned, crawling around the racetrack, $1 doubles to $2, you pay tax in a 25% bracket, that's 25 cents. You only have $1.75. You say, well, big deal. Well, $1.75 doubles to $3.50. You pay tax on that. Instead of having $1 million, you'll only have $72,000 in a 25% bracket. In a 33% tax bracket, you'll only have $27,000 or 2.7% because you were crawling. Okay, putting money in walk investments. You're walking around that racetrack. That is taking after-tax money and putting it into a tax-deferred account like an annuity. An annuity is a savings account with an insurance company. It grows tax deferred, but when you start taking out the money, it's now taxable. LIFO, last in, first out. You're paying tax on all your growth. That's just walking, okay? Another mistake, thinking that IRAs and 401ks are the best way to save for retirement. That's like jogging, but you're not sprinting because you're going to have to pay tax on that. And it's not the best way to save because most people are not in lower tax brackets when they retire. Postponing qualified plan distributions. A qualified plan would be an IRA, 401k, 403b, 457, pension profit sharing plan. It's qualified with who? Uncle Sam, the government. Okay, it always has strings attached. Well, people, they have money in those and they think, Oh, if I don't need the money, let's keep deferring until age 72 and then take RMDs. That's often the worst advice for most Americans. You're not saving tax. You're actually increasing the tax and compounding it by stringing it out during your life expectancy, your spouse's life expectancy, and then when you leave it down to your kids, they have to pay tax on it within 10 years. I show people the amount of tax they will pay, and they're shocked. That is not smart. I can show you how to do a strategic rollout and get the taxes over and done with and reposition it into something that's going to be tax-free from now on. The last mistake is not employing one of your greatest assets. Sometimes people are sort of house rich, real estate rich, and cash poor. And I would recommend that you use a reverse mortgage where you can actually get income out of that property, and you can use that asset, and you can enjoy a comfortable retirement. A lot of people, they just want to leave behind this house to their children. Well, the kids usually don't want the house. They want the money. Well, why don't you employ that? And if there's equity in the house, they can sell the house, pay off the reverse mortgage, and enjoy the difference. But a lot of people fail to use that, and they can't make ends meet, and yet they're living in their greatest asset. So those are under retirement planning. The next category might be your home and real estate. So the big mistakes people make is not keeping their real estate equity liquid, safe, and earning a rate of return. I keep my real estate equity safely tucked in a maximum funded indexed insurance contract because the real estate will go up or down in value regardless of how much equity is in there. And so I keep it liquid and safe over in a side fund, and I get to benefit when real estate does well. Sending extra principal payments against your mortgage. You know, a lot of people think that's the smartest way to get out of debt. I actually show people if you were to set that money aside and the tax savings you will achieve by not killing your tax deduction into an IUL contract, you'll have enough money to pay off your mortgage 2.5 years faster than sending extra principal payments to the mortgage company. And you'll have liquid money in case you get disabled or unemployed, you lose your job. If you give it to the mortgage company, the only way you can get it back is to sell your house or borrow it back. And when you need to borrow it, they're not going to loan you money if you don't have the ability to repay. It's the hardest to get when you need it the worst. And so that's a mistake. Also paying large cash down payments. I've never paid a down payment out of my pocket for real estate. I've satisfied down payments, but not with my money. I keep it liquid and safe, okay? Earning a rate of return, usually double or triple the net cost of the mortgage. If I borrow on a piece of real estate at 4.5% tax deductible interest, it's a net cost of 3 in a 33% bracket. Every $1 million that I borrow, I pay $30,000 a year, and I'm making $90,000 on that $1 million in my IUL policy. That's 300% more. That's 3 times as much money. Would you hire an employee for $30,000 that made you an extra $90,000? Yeah, that's a 300% return on employment costs. Being afraid to pay capital gains tax when selling rental income real estate. I've seen some people wait to pay, I don't want to pay a capital gain tax. And then I show them, just pay the capital gain tax, take the net and put it into an IUL policy, and they're flabbergasted when the IUL policy generates more tax-free income than they were netting out of their real estate portfolio, being a landlord, taking out the trash, fixing toilets, and evicting tenants. We find this in California all the time. Don't be afraid to do that. And performing 1031 exchanges, rolling the money into a new property. A lot of people make the mistake, I need to 1031 this into a new property. They inherit a new headache, but they make the mistake of thinking, I have to take all the equity out of the former property and put it into the new property. The IRS doesn't require that. I've never taken one dime out of a former property on a 1031 and put it into the new property. I mortgage the new one. I take the cash out and put it into an IUL policy. You don't have to take one dime of equity out of that and put it into the new one. When you just have to buy a property of equal or greater value. You can mortgage it to the hilt. Renting instead of buying a home. So many people rent. They're losing out instead of buying and owning. Those are the big mistakes where people miss out on fortunes regarding home and real estate. Let's go to tax planning. Not claiming enough withholding W-4 allowances in order to get a bigger refund. So many times I've run across people. What are you doing here? I like to get a big tax refund. That's like a gift from Uncle Sam. They really think that the president of the United States is giving them a gift. No, the government took your money and paid you how much interest? Zero. They got to use your money. And then they give it back with no interest. Is that your savings account? No, just claim enough allowances so that you aren't overpaying tax. If you owe money, you put it over in your IUL policy. If you have to owe a little bit, then you can take it out of there. But don't pay any more than you need to just to get a big refund. That's silly, okay? Not maximizing tax deductions and itemizing them on your tax return. So many people, they don't keep track of things and they lose out because they're not itemizing and maximizing their deductions, or they don't own a business. I would recommend everybody own some kind of a business, even if it's run out of their home. This allows you to qualify for certain deductions where you can save thousands of dollars of unnecessary tax. And not understanding the huge difference between tax-deferred savings like IRAs and 401ks versus tax-free savings like you can get on a maximum-funded indexed insurance contract. You will have double, triple, even quadruple the net spendable income. How about asset management? Trying to time the market, thus buying and selling at the wrong times because of emotion. How about relying on the purchase of commodity products rather than employing proven strategies? Not maintaining liquidity with all assets, the ability to access your money when you need it. Not keeping your principal safe, protecting it from losses. Not earning a rate of return greater than taxes, inflation, and the cost of the funds or what have you. Not fully understanding the power of compound interest. I'm amazed how many people don't really understand that, especially tax-free compounding. And locking up serious cash into something like gold or silver. And that only keeps even with inflation, okay? Now, under risk management, not funding your life insurance properly, using it for superior capital accumulation, because if you structure it correctly, it knocks the socks off of most other investments that people put money into because it's tax-free. You don't lose when the market goes down if you use indexed universal life. Not letting Uncle Sam pay for your life insurance. How? By redirecting otherwise payable income tax. I have millions of dollars of life insurance, and people say, how can you afford that? And I go, well, it's not free, but I'm not paying for it. I actually structure it so that the government is paying for it with a minuscule portion of money that would otherwise go out the window in unnecessary tax. Not structuring your health insurance for optimum efficiency with proper deductibles, or not structuring your automobile and homeowners insurance with the proper deductibles. People say, I don't want it any more than $100 deductible. Well, the premiums are so much higher. Most people could handle $1,000 or $5,000 of the first expense on some kind of a loss. And so they don't understand that. Or not understanding safe, positive leverage. This is the third marvel of wealth accumulation, the ability to own and control assets with very little or none of your money tied up or at risk in that asset. People don't understand how to leverage with liquidity, because if you leverage without liquidity, that's stupidity. We go into credit management and estate planning, not maintaining your credit score at least 720 or higher. People have no clue how much they're paying in extra interest on their mortgage or for an automobile loan when they have a credit score less than 720. Or paying off debt, including your home mortgage and student loans, the wrong way, sending extra principal payments or whatever, because they're missing out on how they can get out of debt 2.5, 3, 4 years faster by not giving it to the mortgage company or to the bank. By putting it in a side fund, compounding tax-free, you'll actually have enough money to get out of debt sooner. Estate planning, having too much liability exposure, and losing these hard-earned assets you worked for your entire lifetime due to losses in the market or frivolous lawsuits. You can protect that. Not to eliminate or reduce unnecessary tax through the use of trusts and also life insurance and limited liability companies. I'm amazed how many people do not understand how to protect their assets with estate planning. So if this is resonating with you and you want to learn how to not miss out on fortunes, we cover a lot of this in our education on this YouTube channel. But I'd love to gift you a copy of my most recent best-selling book, The Laser Fund. It's a 300-page book, which is actually 2 books in one. This side has about 200 pages, 14 chapters with all kinds of charts and graphs and explanations on how to optimize assets and minimize taxes and protect a lot of your assets like I've been talking about. If you learn more by stories, you flip it over to this one. This is about 100 pages, 12 chapters with 62 actual client stories that talk about this. If you want to use both your right brain and left brain, read both of these, but simply go to laserfund.com, laserfund.com, or click on the link below. You contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. I'll cover the rest of that cost and I'll pay for the book. I'll fire out a hard copy to you. When you're in there claiming your copy, there's options there if you like to listen and learn or watch and learn, audio and video versions for a nominal charge. Also check out our free educational webinars. We teach them on a weekly basis at no charge. Also, you can schedule an appointment with no cost or obligation to talk to an asset optimization specialist to see how you can protect yourself and not miss out on fortunes because you simply don't know what you don't know. We want to educate you.